I have never met anyone who lives Christianity perfectly. At least so far, I've never met the perfect Christian. I've met some really godly people. I've met some people that I'm very impressed with and that, I think are great people and that I like being around and that I trust them and those kind of things. But I've never met anyone who lives Christianity perfectly. I've met some who are very faithful. I've met some who are Christians, but they're, kind of messed up in a lot of ways. But what I'm saying is, you know what? Even if you're the messed up Christian, and even if you know that your Christianity is less than perfect, because it is, I'm just going to tell you tonight, don't give up. Don't quit. Don't lose heart. Jacob never did get this thing right, it seems to me like, when you read his story. But in the end, what the Bible tells us is by faith, Jacob, when he was dying. It doesn't tell us, it doesn't say when Jacob was dying, God lists all of the sins he made. When Jacob was dying, God wants to remind us about all the mistakes he made. When Jacob was dying, God wants to remind him about how he tricked his brother. When Jacob was dying, God wants to remind him about how he lied to his dad. When Jacob was dying, God wants to remind him about how he fled for his life. When Jacob was dying, God wants to remind us how he run away from Laban overnight. When Jacob's dying, God wants to remind us how he played favorites with Jacob, with Joseph. When Jacob was dying, God wants to remind us about how he had such poor leadership skills that when they began to negotiate with Shechem over a marriage relationship, that he can't even keep his children in control, and they go out and slaughter a city. And God doesn't, when it comes time for when Jacob's dying, none of that is what God mentions. What God mentions is by faith, Jacob, when he was dying. Listen, just keep living by faith until your dying day.